Hello, everyone. Welcome to another guest internet video. Today, we're going to continue with our instructional videos that explain how to configure the guest internet controller. Before we start, I want to remind you that you should download the configuration guides from our website or from the Wisp Zone website before you start using the guest internet controller. Read the documents carefully because they tell you how to connect the equipment together and also how to set up the initial configuration using the setup wizard and how to log in as the administrator. So when you log in as the administrator, this is the screen that you will see, the system information page. And today we're going to return to the advanced settings. We're going to scroll down and we're going to talk about the firewall settings. Now, the firewall is a very important feature in the guest internet controller because it protects your network and prevents abuse of the service. So it's very important that we do a careful configuration of the firewall. Now, the first step in the firewall is to allow remote management. We have two methods of access to the guest internet controller remotely. One is accessing remotely over the internet, and the other one is setting up a cloud account and making monitoring and configuration changes using the cloud account. If we want to access remotely, then we check the box to allow remote management. We check the box because we want the remote access SSL, and that's very important. And then we can select a management port that we want to put in here. And once we've configured this, then we go to the button at the bottom to change the settings. This means that anywhere on the internet, you can connect to the internet, open a browser, and put the IP address of this device into your browser and the port number, and get remote access. Now, if the guest internet controller is connected to a modem and it has a public IP, then you can put that IP address in your browser to connect remotely. If, on the other hand, the guest internet controller is connected to a router, an ISP router, then you will need to set up a port forward rule in the ISP router in order to be able to access the guest internet controller remotely. Now, one point to note if you're setting up remote access is we also have a feature called dynamic DNS. This is a subscription service. It facilitates remote access to devices. And so if you enable it, you can put your host name, username, and password into these fields. And so the guest internet controller will keep the dynamic DNS account updated with the public IP address. And so instead of having to put an IP address, you go to the dynamic DNS website, click on a link, and then get remote access. Let's go back to the firewall. The next section is block private IP ranges. A private IP range is a 192.168, a 176.16, or a 10 dot anything. Now, these IP ranges are used internally in networks. And so the guest internet controller might be connected to your business network. And so the IP addresses in your business network will be configured as one of those three ranges. Now, what we want to do is prevent the people who are connecting to the public side of the guest internet controller having access to those private IP ranges. And so this is a firewall which blocks access. This is extremely important if you have point of sale terminals in your business network, because a point of sale terminal requires that you comply with a technical document called PCI DSS, which is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. And so that requires that if you have a connection for public internet in your network, that connection must be isolated from your business network using a compliant firewall. And this block private IP ranges is a PCI DSS compliant firewall. So this is very important. If you have a business with a point of sale and you simply connect a wireless access point for the public to have access to the internet, they also have access to your point of sale terminal. And so you're in breach of the requirements for PCI DSS. The next item on our list is block DOS attacks. A DOS is a denial of service attack. If a lot of computers have the virus, then it's called a distributed denial of service attack. This means that a computer might be infected with a DOS virus. And so what does this mean? It means that if that DOS virus is enabled by remotely by a hacker, then it will send out a stream of data packets to stop a website working. And so the hacker will try and get 100,000 computers, all with the same DOS virus, in order to stop a Microsoft web server or something similar. So this is very dangerous for the web server, but also very bad for your network. Because if a computer is enabled for a DOS attack, it's going to use the whole bandwidth of the uplink, and so no one can connect to the internet. So basically, it disconnects your network from the internet. And so we would enable this box in order to block DOS attacks. The next item on our list is block routers. Now, this is important if you're selling internet access or you're trying to restrict the number of people who are using your internet service. Because if somebody connects to your internet service using a mobile phone, then they have a feature on the mobile phone called hotspot, which allows other people to connect to their mobile phone, and they're using the connection from the mobile phone to your network. So if we enable block routers, this prevents any mobile phone being switched into the mode where it allows access for other people, the hotspot mode. Okay, this is important if you're selling access, if you're charging people, because you don't want one person to pay and then allow 10 others to access for free. So if we enable block routers and someone changes their mobile phone after connecting to your network, changes their mobile phone to the hotspot mode, then what happens is their phone will get disconnected from the network. And so they can't share that with other people. So that's an important feature. Finally, we have a feature to block peer-to-peer file sharing. Now, this is important because people can use software like BitTorrent or Casa, for example, to share copyrighted files. Now, copyrighted files are music files, video files, and they're protected by copyright. Now, most copyright files are owned by about 9 different companies. And so what these companies do is to monitor the internet, and they note IP addresses where the files are being copied. And then they tell the ISP, hey, on this IP address, someone is copying our files illegally. Now, if your ISP is Starlink, what they're going to do is cut your service. So you're going to lose your internet access. And that's part of the terms of service that you agree to when you start using the service. And so we have to prevent people sharing the copyright information using software like BitTorrent. And so we click this box here to block peer-to-peer file sharing. And then we have a drop-down menu. We can decide whether we want to disconnect that computer permanently from the network, so they have no further access to the network, or we can stop them anywhere between 5 minutes and 1 day. And when they ask why they've been blocked, we can tell them you're sharing files illegally. So this is a very important feature, especially if you're using a Starlink antenna to share that service with a community. people, members of the community, are going to try to share copyright information, and you're going to get your Starlink service disconnected. And so you must use the guest internet controller to prevent people sharing your Starlink service with people who are going to share copyrighted material. Okay, so that's everything you need to know about the guest internet firewall. Once again, it's a very important feature that you must use if you're sharing an internet service with a community. Prevent people abusing the service, because if you don't, most likely the ISP will terminate your service. Okay? Now, if you have any questions, you can contact us, send us an email. We'd be very, very happy to help you out. You can find a lot of documentation available on our website for download, or the WispZone website for download. So please look out for other videos in this series, because we're going to explain all the features of guest internet. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.